The Furry Bible. Now, when you hear the title, The Furry Bible, what do you think the story is going to be about? Obviously the Bible. The Furry Bible. Oh yes, Furry Bible. Animals. It's going to involve animals. Yes, the story definitely did just that. For starters, I would like to ask, why do people write fanfiction about the Bible? Why? What compels you to do this? I've read not one, not two, but 3 stories on this web series, all within this season, mind you. Yes, all within this season alone, about the bloody Bible. Jesus gets nailed. Hitler and Jesus, a romance. And now this, the Furry Bible. All 3 stories are bloody pornography. They're porn fics, they're sex fics. That's what all 3 of them are. Jesus gets nailed. Orgy. Jesus and Hitler, a romance. Offensive stupidity and an orgy. Yes, because there was an orgy between Jesus, God, and Hitler. Jesus and God are father and son. Incest! Not to mention what Jesus does to his adopted son. Pedophilia! Yes, that was a charming story. And then there's this. The Furry Bible! By Gay Furry. The summary. The Holy Bible, but rewritten as self-insertion fairy/fiction. Of course, it's a bloody self-insert! So this story is not only a porn fic and a Bible fan fiction that involves fairies, it's a self-insert! The only saving grace is that I don't have to read this story out loud, because it's just over the limit. Just over. By 778 words. So if this story was 778 words shorter, I would have been forced to read it aloud. Thank bloody Christ that it wasn't. It's rated M. It's in English. It's parody fantasy. Has 2 chapters. I already said the word count. 33 reviews, 17 faves, 7 follows, and published back in 2008 in September. It's not complete. However, written back in 2008, hasn't been updated since, so I don't think it's going to be updated. And if it is updated, guess what? I'm not revisiting it. Lately, when I've been doing summarized reviews for the most part, I try to take notes on the story. I didn't do that with this one. I'm just going to do this in one go, because if I were to take notes on this story, that means I would have to reread it. And I don't want to reread it. That's how much the story angered me. Of course, I am going to have to skim through it for this review, just to make sure I have all my facts straight. But that's still better than reading it word for word. I don't think I can handle it if I did. So, let's get started with the first chapter. I'll say this right now. The 2 chapters. This story is technically 2 stories. I mean, the only similarity, really, aside from them all being animals, is that the main character, Jamie, the self-insert, mind you, is in both stories as the protagonist. So, the first chapter is based on the Garden of Eden. So, Jamie here, he's an oryx, and he has a thing for Adam, who's a bloody stallion. Adam is with Eve, who's a fox. So you have an oryx who is in love with a stallion who was involved with the fox. So, Jamie is trying to get Adam away from Eve because he wants Adam all to himself. And Adam's having none of it. He beats the shit out of Jamie and then proceeds to actually shit on Jamie afterwards. Jamie somehow does not die from, infection from getting shit in his festering wounds. And he awakes to find Eve trying to help him up and trying to care for him because she feels bad about what Adam did. So, Jamie wants nothing to do with Eve. And he ends up accidentally falling on her because, she's trying to pick him up and, he's heavy. And because he fell on her, he managed to get some shit on her. So she gets very angry about him getting shit on her. And she runs off to get Adam to finish off Jamie. So, Jamie falls unconscious. And he wakes up with Adam's hoof on his chest. So I'm under the impression with this story that they're not supposed to be anthropomorphic because of it mentioning him having hooves and they're not wearing clothing or any of that matter. And then something that happens in the second chapter kind of clarifies it for me. So I don't think they're supposed to be anthropomorphic. So, Jamie is being threatened by Adam. And Adam's pretty much going to do something horrible to Jamie. This horrible thing that he does is that he pretty much rapes him up the bum. But, because this is what Jamie wanted to begin with, Jamie's not upset about it at all. He got off on it, actually. Adam, being oblivious, is like, I hope that's a lesson to you, and then he walks off. Ava's like, okay, what the hell? I thought he was going to kill you, and instead he just gives you what you want. So Ava's understandably pissed about this, and she threatens to bite off Jamie's balls. And Jamie's like, oh, that's evil if you were to do that. And Ava's like, evil? What's evil? So, Jamie explains that if you eat the fruit on that tree over there, it'll make you evil. So, Eve, you think she doesn't want to be evil because she was like, what's evil? She decides to eat the fruit anyway, and then proceeds to bite off Jamie's balls. He falls unconscious. When he wakes up, they're all banished from the Garden of Eden. And the reason being was because of Eve eating the fruit. Now, all the other animals, they think it was a deal that an evil snake told her to eat the fruit. So they find a random snake and they proceed to beat the crap out of it. And then Eve's like, no, you bloody idiots, it wasn't that snake. It was Jamie. Jamie was the one who told me to eat the fruit. But the thing is, Jamie didn't tell her to. He just pointed out where the fruit was. And he was pointing out where the fruit was to explain to her what evil was. So the animals decide to punish Jamie. And how do they punish Jamie? By having a huge orgy with him. Which is what he wanted. And that's how the chapter ends. Right. So, second chapter. Noah's Ark. So, Jamie, once again. He's an oryx, once again. And this time he has the hots for Noah, who is a goat. A goat. How creative. Noah is going to be having this big party on his ark. And it's called a swingers party. And the thing is, he tells Jamie that he can't come alone. He has to come with someone else, and it has to be the opposite sex. And if he insists, he can bring a quote-unquote tranny with him, but he can't come alone. So, the day of the party with the ark comes. Jamie decides to dress and drag and claim that he's trans, and he goes on the ship alone. He realizes that he's being laughed at by some of the other animals, a couple of pigs, and he's getting very pissed about this. And then Noah sees Jamie, and he's like, I told you not to come alone. And Jamie's like, well, I'm a trans person, so you said to bring a trans. And Noah's like, no, you can't be on here alone. So he kicks Jamie off the ark. Jamie, though, somehow has magical powers, where he can turn himself into an orangutan. So, he turns himself into an orangutan, and he swings his way back onto the ship. And somehow no one notices that he snuck back on, and he changes back into an oryx afterwards. So he comes across this character named Hairy Hippo. And Hairy Hippo is a bloody imbecile. He thinks that Jamie is actually a woman with a ginormous clitoris that looks like a bloody penis, and they go and have sex. And then Noah comes, interrupts the sex, and he's like, Hairy Hippo, what are you doing? That's not a woman. And then to Jamie, he's like, the reason why I said you needed to bring someone of the opposite sex is because we're using this ship to try to repopulate the Earth. That's why you were supposed to bring the opposite sex. Eventually, though, as time passes, Noah gets over his anger towards Jamie, and they have sex. And then, the story ends with all the animals on the ship having a massive orgy. At the end. Colossal waste of time. And I know that was probably an atrocious summary, and frankly, I don't give a shit, because it doesn't deserve a good summary. If you want to read this to see just how bad it is for yourselves, be my guest. But I'm not reading this again. No thank you. This was so bloody dumb. Offensive and dumb. Maybe not as offensive as the Jesus and Hitler story, because that will always be super offensive. Meg was even disgusted drawing the title card for it. That's how... and I felt bad about that, but she didn't really have a say. The creator insisted. But I digress. This story, though, it was offensive on a different level. I think what made it so offensive was that it was well written. Oh, that's right. Another reason why I didn't take notes on this story was, there was no screenshots to take, really. The story, grammatically and layout-wise, was practically perfect in every way. Just like Mrs. Frizzle gets cronked. Just like that. This story was offensive because it was just a bloody sex fic. A disgusting sex fic. No substance to it. No plot, really. Just a very flimsy plot. But aside from that, it's like, just watch actual porn. Why write stories like this? This is a waste of space. An utter waste of space. And the fact that it was well written just makes it even more infuriating. Because, at least you can get a laugh out of typos in bad stories. I mean, even in the Jesus and Hitler story, there was typos that you could get a laugh out of. Even in the Jesus Gets Nailed, that was just so obscure, it was offensive too, but I think there was like weird typos in that one, and at least made it somewhat entertaining. This wasn't even entertaining, it was just a chore to read, and infuriating to read. So bloody stupid. Thankfully, this author has not written any other stories. And thankfully, they never updated this story. Because I'd hate to see what else they would have done. They probably were going to do a little thing based off of each part of the Bible very loosely. With this bloody Jamie. It was a waste of time. It was a waste of time reading this, and it was a waste of time reviewing it. I don't get why people write stories like this, and I don't get why people write stories about the Bible. The Bible. Why the Bible? Wouldn't that be insulting if you're in that religion to be writing... I don't know. So yes, that was the Furry Bible. Thank you all for watching today's episode. If you liked it, please be sure to leave a like and leave a comment. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I'll greatly appreciate it. I'll see you all in the next upload. Till then, cheerio.